Bună ziua și bine ați venit la prima ediție a Festivalului de Carte pentru Copii. În acest scurt interviu o să vorbim cu autoarea Beth Turley despre două cărți care sunt traduse și în limba română, Orașul cu nume de copac și Dacă, aceasta ar fi o poveste. Bineînțeles, sunt două cărți pentru copii care vin cu multă încărcătură emoțională și care ne descriu multe dintre lucrurile pe care le întâmpină copiii noștri pe parcursul copilăriei și apoi al adolescenței, dar ca să nu vă mai țin în suspans, o să mă duc către Beth și o să îi mulțumesc că este alături de noi și să vedem cum a gândit ea aceste două cărți. So I'm switching to English now. Beth, welcome and thank you for coming today and responding to our invitation to have an interview about your two books that are translated into Romanian. I was saying, if this were a story, and the last three down, we are going to talk about those two today. So. Let's start with the beginning. You are writing only books for children or for grown-ups as well?
Yes, I write for the middle grade category, so between 9 and 13, and that's my favorite to write for, is that age group.
But from what I've been reading in your books, I really believe that if parents would read those books, they will come to understand teenagers maybe in a better way. So let's start with if this were a story in which we see the story of a girl who tries to understand reality by mixing it with the fantastic world or the way she wants to understand the world or stories. How did this idea came to you?
So I wanted it to sort of be a magical realism, so like based in the real world, but there would be just sort of slight magical parts of it, which I thought would be fun for kids. And I think it turned out to have sort of a deeper meaning than I had originally set it out to. And I think that what started as a girl sort of just hearing things around her and hearing sounds turned into a coping mechanism and a way for her to come to terms with what she was going through. So it's one of my favorite parts of the book is sort of that blend between the slight magical part and then the reality.
Is something that you were thinking about, or do you know kids who told you they are doing this, or was part of the way you came across solving problems?
I think I sort of found comfort in things around me when I was younger. Maybe not in the explicit way that it is in the book, but I think that you can find sources of support and sources of strength just in random places, like a stuffed elephant or a penny on the ground, like Hannah does. So.
Yeah. So that is so important because you are talking in your book about two very intense subjects like bullying and domestic violence, and or maybe not that much as a domestic violence, but the conflicts and the fights that children are hearing in their families. And you kind of mixed them. So because kids were living in such an environment, they tended to go and do bullying to other kids, and they discovered in the end that probably everybody was in the same situation. So how did you come with this idea to mix the bullying with what children are experiencing in their families?
So I think that I wanted to look at bullying sort of in two different ways, because in the book you'll see sort of the characters that aren't the main characters also experiencing bullying. But then there's also sort of the idea that Hannah is bullying herself just by having negative thoughts and that sort of thing. And that those thoughts for her are sort of stemming from the conflict that she's experiencing at home, which could also sort of be seen as a form of bullying, just that conflict between the two parents. So I was trying to kind of look at it from a few different perspectives and to get Hannah eventually to the point where she isn't bullying herself anymore in her mind. And in turn, she can help that external bullying that's happening to her other classmates as well.
So it's a sentence in the book that really, it's a sentence or a small part in the book that really made me very emotional when Hannah is referring to her father's hand, which can be a hand that builds things and can cuddle, caress her, but it's the same hand that it's on the verge of hitting her mother. And this, I think, most of the children and teenager experience this love that they have for their parents, but in the same way they see that bad things can happen also. So it's very hard to say stop or protect themselves because probably the amount of love that they have towards their parents, it's so high, so they don't know what to do.
Yes, I think it can be hard for kids to see that people can have many different sides to themselves, and some good, some not so good. And if I could offer a story that sort of lets them see that it can all be part of this one person. But yeah, thank you for bringing up that line.
I really, it made me very emotional, that specific line. Probably, I don't know, from how I felt when I was a child, I don't know, but that line was deeply emotional for me. What I also liked in your book was the way you presented the world in sounds, like happy day sounds in a way and sad day sounds in a different way. What made you write in this way? What made you choose the sounds to describe certain things?
For some reason, that first line of the book, that I measure how happy a day is with sounds, it was just the first thing that came out, and it never changed through the rest of the book. I went through revisions. That first line and that characteristic of Hannah, just it was always just such a part of her. And I do think that maybe I am a little sensitive to sounds too, like the dishes crashing into the sink. I do not like that sound. So I think I was bringing some of myself into that part of her character.
I wanted to ask you if you are an auditive person, if you are sensitive to sounds, and apparently you are, but you managed to put it into writing, which is more amazing, because most of us, maybe they could say it sounds like, or it looks like, or it smells like, but putting it into words, it's even a step forward.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, it was important. I think it became important to her character that that's how she differentiates a good day and a bad day, sort of. Yeah.
But also you have many paragraphs of visual, with visual impact, like describing the months of the year, October, November, putting the penny eating the popcorn, or things that are really visual as well. So do you think this is how you wanted to mix the book, or it just came through you in this way?
I think that once I'd sort of figured out that Hannah was just a very sensitive character with sounds, but also with her experiences with other people and just the world around her. It became easy for me to make it part of her character, just to be so imaginative, to take the things that she's seeing and hearing and experiencing and turn it into a story, essentially. And I think that she became a character with a very heightened sense of awareness, and it really would trigger her imagination.
Do you have feedback from kids reading your book about these specific concepts like bullying and the fighting in their house? Did anything change after reading your book, or did they, I don't know, have aha moments?
I've gotten some messages that really mean so much to me. I've gotten a few actually from kids who had read the book maybe a couple of years ago when it came out, and then they send me a message and say that they still think about it and that it still like resonates with them 2 years later, or as they get a little bit older. That's one of my favorite parts of being an author, is receiving messages from teachers and kids, and just seeing the book be shared and experienced.
Yeah, that's very very important, and I'm happy that children and teachers are giving you the feedback. Any parents?
A few parents too. Yeah, that they I've gotten a few messages that parents have actually read the book with their kids, read it aloud together, and that's more than I could hope for, because sometimes you just put a book out into the world and you don't know what readers it will find. So I'm happy that this book found its readers.
I think it's a very important book for the Romanian public, as well as having the bullying, anti-bullying law and all this procedure. It's something very new. It's not, we don't have a history with handling bullying and conflicts inside the family. We are doing our best, but I guess if kids will know how to handle this by reading books like yours, probably, or not probably, for sure, this will be much helpful. Maybe we'll come back to this story again and see how we mix the whole process of you being a writer and choosing these stories. But I want to talk about the last three towns. And here we find again strong concepts like friendship, sisterhood, acceptance. So how did this book came to life?
This book went through many different revisions. It was different plot. At first it had a little bit of the magical realism that If This Were a Story had, and eventually we, my editor and I were let's just start over and just tell this character's story. Just take everything else away and tell her story. So even though the plot was constantly sort of changing, the characters were always staying the same. And for this story, the characters were most important to me. I liked getting to create this close-knit friend group who all had different characteristics and different interests, but were all supportive of each other and there for each other. The aspect of identity, where she feels that she doesn't look like the rest of her family, that was very based on my personal experience. Cassie not feeling like she fits in with her Puerto Rican identity is based on myself, as I don't look Puerto Rican even though I am. So I felt that there was something there to explore that others might relate to. So this book I felt like was more just completely just realistic and relatable.
So you'd say Cassie is you in the book, or parts of you in the book. It is your story in a way, or just parts of your story?
Not everything about her is my story.
Okay.
I don't have an older sister. I am the older sister. In my situation, I have a younger sister. But her experience with her grandfather having dementia, and the coming to terms with her identity, that she can still be herself even if others tell her she doesn't seem that way. Those I did pull from my personal experience.
So you are Puerto Rican, half Puerto Rican or fully Puerto Rican?
I am half Puerto Rican. My mother is 100%.
So
Yes.
did you feel this while your childhood or teenagerhood that you don't look like? So did you feel not accepted? I don't know, in the community, or maybe you felt weird inside your family, and this made you write this book so other people who probably feel the same would relate to it, because I think many children has this problem, even though they are not half, but they have other things that they think they don't fit into the society.
Yeah, I think it's definitely common, and especially like in Puerto Rican, there's such a strong culture and the Spanish language and everything. But I personally don't speak Spanish, so I think it can be tough to feel like you belong to that certain culture if you don't fit in with everything. But it still has been such an important part of my life through my family and the food that we eat and everything like that. Yeah.
So it was very important, because nowadays we hear many children saying, I'm not tall enough, or I'm not curly enough, I'm not blonde enough, I'm too dark, or I don't know, things like that. And usually they feel at this age group that you are writing for, they don't really feel accepted all the time.
Mm-hmm.
So a story like this one could be very important for them, even they are not half something, but they can relate to other things in their lives. For example, when I came across your this book, I immediately thought of myself not being part or not belonging to my friends group, because I was too thin back then. I'm not thin anymore right now, but I feel this. And my daughter, I have a daughter who's 13, almost 13 years old. She's half Romanian, half Lebanese, and she definitely looks more Lebanese than Romanian. And she has an issue not with the family, not belonging to the culture or tradition or the family, but to the society and the community. They always pick on her because she's too dark or too hairy or things like that. So kind of I'm mixing your books with the acceptance and the bullying part. So I guess children and teenagers in Romania, I think it would be very good for them if they will have both of your books, so they can relate to many things that you are saying. In this book, you also have this part of the sisterhood, but where a sister is definitely looking Puerto Rican, and the other one is not. The main character is not. So does this thing makes Cassie feel not belonging? Or how important it is for her that her sister and the relationship with her sister?
I think that because of the other issues going on with her sister, she's feeling that lack of connection with her. And I think that the addition of her starting to feel that she doesn't look like her sister, that she doesn't fit in with the standards of her family and her culture, is just making her feel even further away from the sister who she admires and cares for so much. So I think that the depression in her sister kind of just escalated her feelings of not belonging and of disconnection.
So I see that the plot or the action in the book is her seeing many things that are going not in a good way, and in the end, she finds kind of a rewarding answer. I don't want you to tell us what's the answer, or spoil the reader's pleasure to find what's happening in the book. But at least a little bit, can you tell us what makes her find a little bit of peace?
I think that she finds it in her friends and in her family. I think she just comes to realize that even if everything else around her is changing or it just feels different, it can still be okay and it can still be good and you can still sort of have a happy ending in the end, even if it feels like everything is wrong at a certain point.
So she understands that she's much more than all the events happening around her.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Why The Last Tree Town? Why did you choose this title?
So in the book, she makes a new friend named 𝗕𝗏, who has moved with his father to several different towns named after trees. The most current one being the town where this story takes place, Mapleton. And so it's the idea, and he doesn't want to leave. He doesn't want to move again to another tree town. He wants this to be his last tree town, his place where he calls home. So even though the title sort of relates more to 𝗕𝗏's story, this last tree town is the place where the whole story takes place and where everyone eventually can feel like they're at home.
Yeah, and probably they help each other to all stay in that last tree town.
Yes, yeah, they make it special for each other.
So what's next? What's your next projects, your next plans?
So my third book came out a couple months ago. That was a book about 4 young adults who get to go to New York City and be part of a magazine internship program. And so they're strangers who get to learn about each other. And I am working on a 4th middle grade novel now about a girl who wants to bring her family back together by resurrecting an old town picnic that stopped happening. So that's my current projects, and I hope to keep writing many more books.
We are hoping as well, because we really liked these 2 books that we have here in Romania, and I hope your next books will also be translated into Romania, so we can enjoy your writing as well. And I promise we will give you feedback if we have feedback from kids or parents who are going to read these books, and they will tell us, oh, the books were amazing. I must tell you, I'm a school teacher as well, and I take most of the books I'm talking about. I take them to school, and your books are into my recommendations, and we will read them together in my class, of course. So we can talk about. Yes, it's so important for kids to have them. So. Not my last question. One of my last questions would be, are you planning to write for this 9-13 age group from now on? What do you want to tell them? What do you want to tell them through your writing? What do you want to see or understand from your books?
I do think that I have a lot more to say just in this age category, like more to write, more stories to tell. If I was going to expand, it would be into the teen category, into the young adult, just the next level up, because I think that's an important group to write for as well, experiencing a whole different set of issues and experiences. But I feel for the middle grade category, I just want to keep writing books that make other kids feel the way my favorite books made me feel at that age, which was accepted and understood and seen. And so I hope to keep writing books like that.
So do you have, I don't know, at school, do you have literature that children are having at their English lesson that are not much related to what they experience day by day, or they are not related to their problems or their situation? I'm asking you this because in Romania we have this topic, oh my God, the literature that the children are studying, it's not related to their to their reality. And I liked your answer when you said, I want to write books that kids will relate to and they will be their favorite books in that specific period of time as I had.
Yeah.
So how is the English literature in your country?
I think that it can be hard to get away from the classics, I guess, the books that have just always been taught in school. But based on social media and what I see from teachers and librarians, I think that there is a push to try to put more current books in front of kids, and also to sort of let them read more of what they want to read. If that means a graphic novel, then that's what they should be able to read. And I like the focus on finding the right book for the right kid, because that's how they're going to like foster the love of reading. And I do hope that when it comes to books that the whole class has to read, that they continue to think about the audience and not necessarily what has always been taught.
Exactly. So that's why I really enjoyed your answer, and I'm really happy that you are writing for the children and into their benefits, because some of us might do the mistake of writing or thinking or doing things that we think might give us pleasure or gives us more benefits. But I really enjoyed your answer where you said, I want books and I will continue to write books that will really be for the pleasure of the audience that I have. I hope that we will see your next book as well here. And now, not really a question, but my last requirement for you is if you could tell us some things, or I don't know, encouragement or whatever you feel like suitable for the Romanian public, children, parents, teachers.
Well, before I answer that, I just want to say thank you so much for having me. I'm thrilled that these books were translated into Romanian and are available. I love the cover of If This Were a Story so much. Actually, I have it behind me. My close friend cross-stitched the cover for me. So I'm so excited to be here and talking to you today. And if I could just offer any encouragement, it would be to keep reading. Just don't stop reading. I think it's so important. Yeah.
So we will take your advice. We will not stop reading, and you have to take our advice. Don't stop writing, because you are having amazing books. I wanted to ask you, what's the pictures behind you? Can you please tell me again?
It's a cross stitch of the cover of If This Were a Story. It doesn't have the words on it, but it's the cover. I love that cover that was put together by the publisher.
I loved it too. For the whole interview, my eyes were on on the picture that you have there. So congratulations again for your books, and I hope we will probably meet you someday in Romania. We probably will come to America to you.
Oh, that would be amazing.
Yeah, that would be so nice. So thank you very much for being with us today.
Thank you. I appreciate it so much.
Iar vă spun și vă mulțumesc că ați fost alături de noi. Am avut pe Beth Turley, autoarea celor două cărți, Orașul cu nume de copac și Dacă, aceasta ar fi o poveste, două cărți inspiraționale și motivaționale foarte importante pentru grupa asta de vârstă despre care ne vorbește ea, 9-13 ani, o grupă de vârstă foarte greu de gestionat și atunci, uite, poveștile care vin pe această formă în care și copiii pot să-și ia și să înțeleagă din anumite cărți lucruri pe care mi-ar plăcea mie să le ducă mai departe și să le dezbată cu părinții, sunt de bun augur. Vă invit să le aveți și voi în biblioteca voastră și să trimiteți, de ce nu, feedback și să scrieți atât către Litera, poate că și către Beth, care sunt părerile voastre și dacă și în felul în care v-au influențat. Acestea fiind spuse, vă mulțumesc tare, tare mult și vă spun la revedere! Bye!
Bye!